gratitude is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime I know that I'm about to head into a valley or I'm at the bottom of a valley, I thank God, because I know, I said, God, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I know that this pain is going to be turned into purpose.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to have you here in studio. And you're from here, but you live in Texas, correct?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It was so nice to drive back. I grew up in San Jose. All my cousins grew up out here in Hollister. And so driving back is a little nostalgic for me.
Totally. Yeah. Just it looks different though, right?
It does.
Town.
Yes. It looks
a lot
different.
Of houses going up. How long have you been in Texas now?
I moved to Texas in September of 2021. So
okay.
A little over 2 years.
Wow. And how do you like Texas?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It's been really sweet.
Good. Was it hard at first? Because you're really close to your family.
Yeah, we are really close.
Yeah.
Sisters and I are really close. But it was kind of one of those things where I got there and I just felt like I was home.
Oh, I love that.
Immediately.
Yeah. What did you originally go out there for? For school or, I mean, I know you're a dancer also, so I love to talk about that as well. But what made you choose Texas?
Yeah, so I tell everyone dance brought me out, but the people kept me. And it was kind of a cool story how it all happened. If we rewind back to 2020, the pandemic hit. Like everyone else, people's worlds were turned upside down. I was finishing graduate school at Penn State. I did like an integrated master's program while I was there. I had planned to graduate in the spring of 2020 and then move to New York City. I had already signed my job offer. I had worked there the summer before.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I was super excited. I loved Manhattan. It was such a fun summer when I did my internship out there. And I really wasn't ready to leave the East Coast, to leave all the people, all the relationships I had formed out there. But pandemic hit. My dad flew across the country. We packed up my car and we drove back across in 4 days as the world was shutting down.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It was so fun. We had planned to do like a 2-week trip.
Yeah.
But
there was nowhere to stop and eat. Everything was closed.
Oh, yeah. It was so funny, too, because as we went further west, it was like more and more shut down.
Oh, yeah.
So driving through Arkansas, people had no clue what was going on. They were living their normal lives.
Yeah.
And then as we kept getting closer to home, it was definitely
interesting.
More shut down. My dad, we like stopped and bought like pasta and tuna on the way because we didn't know what the grocery stores would be like.
Totally. Isn't it crazy? I mean, I just remember the schools, being in Hollister, like kind of like for you, like Arkansas, then you get to California where it's like bigger, I'm like, well, maybe it won't hit. We heard on the news, like San Francisco schools closed and we're like, oh my goodness. And San Jose, it was like getting closer and closer and closer. And I'm like, well, we're even outside of Hollister. We're in Tres Pinos. We're like really, really tiny. So maybe we'll just like skip over and go to Salinas. Right? Maybe our school will stay open. And then we got the alert. And we're like, oh my gosh, it was the weirdest thing. It was just like someone just flickering lights all the way off until it hits you.
Yes.
Scary.
Yes. Well, I was actually like in the middle of studying for my CPA exams when the pandemic had hit. And I had been planning to take my second test. And I was the only person at the library. I was like, oh, I'm just going to take this test. It'll be fine. Of course, my exam got canceled. And that's when my dad came. We moved back to California. I ended up working virtually for a few years out of California, but based out of the New York City office. So very interesting working East Coast hours from California. But I really liked the team that I had been on. So
how was that for you? Because, a lot of people were affected, with the pandemic. I mean, especially with what I do for work and dealing with substance abuse, when people were, especially I noticed ones who were living a very big corporate, busy life with a lot of people around them, then going from that on a daily basis to remote by themselves, isolated at home, when that was not their norm. They were used to commuting. They were used to going to the city. It affected a lot of people. So for you being in New York and just getting your journey started over there and then coming back home and working virtually, I mean, how was that for you?
Yeah, it was really difficult. I was finishing grad school, so I was still at Penn State. I hadn't gone back to New York yet at that point in time. But my 5th year at Penn State, I was coaching for the dance team. I was a captain for the largest student-run philanthropy in the world. I was finishing my 3rd degree. So I was a part of a lot of things that had high purpose, high intent, really high on relationships. And my cup was super full.
Yeah.
And so moving back home, and at this point, I was studying to become a certified public accountant, and that studying's kind of grueling. So I was pretty much just studying.
Yeah.
And kind of my low point during that time, I didn't deal with any sort of substance abuse while I was home, but I definitely had a lot of anxiety, pangs of depression. And I distinctly remember one day where I was sitting in my bedroom, and a childhood bedroom. It's like these bright blue walls, these Bible verses on the walls. Like, I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I back in my childhood bedroom? I'm 22 years old.
Yeah.
I have 3 degrees. I have just been a part of so much purpose. Like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
And my dad walked into my room, and I remember he was like, Amanda, you have a choice. You can either choose to be grateful, or you can keep being a victim. And so something had flipped in my mind at that point, and I was like, okay, it's time to start doing the work.
Right.
And so it was in that moment that I was like, okay, what is this life that I want to build? And when I was at Penn State, I had gotten a little bit burnt out from dance. 4 years will do that.
Right.
But when I moved back home, I took a break. I finished my CPA exams. It was kind of at that point that I was like, what really fills my cup? What brings me a lot of joy? And dance is one of those things at the top of my list. And so that's when I started. I was like, okay, what would be the next step for dance? And the cherry on top for me would be being on an NFL cheerleading team.
Yeah.
And so 'cause back when I was a kid, I was a little Gold Rush, like junior Gold Rush cheerleader. Like, pull up those pictures. They're so sweet.
Yeah. Like, you just know then, right? I feel like dance is one of those things where, it's like I have a daughter now, and trying to just see where she wants to go with sports. We give them all the options on the kids. What are you interested in? And it's like, I don't want to push her towards dance or cheer because that's what I did, but see if she, figures that out and decides that's what she wants to do. But I loved it as a young girl. Like, I just knew that I was passionate about it. Like, that was my, I don't want to use the word escape, because at a young age, you don't know what an escape is or a coping mechanism, really. It's just what you have fun doing. But if I were to look back and say, when, I was feeling anxiety inside or sad inside and not really able to recognize it, I just noticed I would find myself needing to go into a studio and just dance. And then I felt happy, even if I couldn't connect the two at the time, being so young, But even now, it's like I miss it. And it's so hard with kids and work. But it's like, I see your post and you just dancing your heart away. And I'm just like, I love that. I miss it too. But what a switch. So you decided, when you were at Penn State, did you think about that at all? Like, being an NFL cheerleader then? Has that always been kind of a goal?
It's always been in the back of my mind, but I knew that it wasn't the main thing for me. Like, some women that I know, they're like, my main goal in life is to become an NFL cheerleader. For me, it was, I want to build a life where I can show women, I could show little girls that you can be both a beautiful, strong dancer, but you can also be a strong businesswoman.
Absolutely.
And so I kind of looked at it more from the long game, not just, what's the next step, but more so, how can I make both happen? And so I was very strategic in deciding, okay, first I'm going to get my CPA exams out of the way.
Right.
Because you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Right. Do you ever feel there was a stigma around cheerleaders and dancers growing up, or that there is one today? Where, I mean, I remember being a cheerleader in high school and everyone would just be like, cheerleading's not a sport. And I'd be like, it absolutely is. Like, you are busting butt out there practicing and working out. I mean, it definitely, in my eyes, is a sport, but a lot of people would categorize it as one that it's not, or, the dingy cheerleaders. What are your thoughts on that? And do you have anything to say to young girls who have that as a goal, where it's a big thing to accomplish. It's a lot of work, but you said it perfectly. Like, you can do both. You can be that beautiful dancer, cheerleader, as well as successful in your own career. It's not like you have to pick and choose one or the other. There's a way to combine the two of them.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think being a dancer, you're both an artist and an athlete. And so you're made to make things look easy. Where in most sports, it's supposed to look tough. In dance, you're putting on this performance that it's made to look so effortless.
I love that.
And that's where most people don't understand. And because we make it look effortless, then that's sometimes where it's thought not to be a sport. I think today there's a lot more traction and support around dance being a sport. I think people are starting to see more of that, but there's still a long ways to go. A good example is most dance teams that are at a collegiate level that are performing, they have their own competition team, but they're also performing at every football, basketball, wrestling, volleyball, you name it. And somehow they don't have a strength coach. My dancing started getting 10 times better when I started taking my strength and conditioning training more seriously, when I started fueling properly.
Right.
And any sports team has those resources.
Right.
So I think there's still a gap there in like the funding and the resources for a lot of dancers. And a lot of that just starts with awareness, because you can't care about something unless you're aware of it.
Right. Right. And it's true. I love that look. I never really looked at it that way, that dancing is made to look so effortlessly because it's such a beautiful sport. There's so much hard work that goes behind it. And I feel like even with somebody who's very successful, in their career, and they look on the outside and think that, oh, wow, their life just looks so beautiful and it looks so great and everything's so perfect. And why are they stressing over this? But it's like behind the scenes of things, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears. And I feel like it's important, and this is, why I have this podcast, is that we can share the hard parts of our success, of like, there's a lot of hustle that goes into somebody's accomplishments and their goals and their dreams, because it's not, oh, I've been dancing my whole life, it looks like I have a good resume and boom, I'm just going to make the squad because I should be able to, right? I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, you're prepping, you're up early, you have so much discipline, and I want you to share a little bit about that too, because that's what people, I feel, don't see, especially if somebody doesn't know you and they just see the performance. It's like, wow, that's so pretty, she dances so great. But it's like, okay, well, what do your days consist of to make that beautiful, routine look effortlessly? I mean, what does your day look like?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there are a lot of things just outside of the dance and showing up that go into that performance. And we'll go back to when I was working that first job right out of college, when I decided that I wanted to audition for an NFL cheer team. we had a few months of the year called busy season, and I would be working anywhere from 60, sometimes up to 80 hours in a week. And I knew that I had goals beyond just this professional career. And so the only way that I would be able to make those dreams a reality, to be able to get myself into a position where I'm competing for a spot on a roster, would be to start waking up. And so back in that summer of 2020, heading into my first audition, that's where I really started to get my morning routine dialed in. And for me, that looks like moving my mind, body, and spirit.
And what time would you wake up, or do you wake up?
So now I wake up around 4:45 a.m. every morning. I started out back then around 5:30. And whenever people come to me and say, how do you wake up so early? I say, what time do you wake up now? Okay, wake up 15 minutes earlier.
Right.
And then 15 minutes earlier. Soon enough, you'll get there.
Right.
It's gradual.
Yeah, exactly. So in a couple years when we talk again, you'll be waking up at 3 a.m.
No.
3 a.m. club.
Maybe. Probably not. Sometimes I'll be up at 4 a.m. though, just to know, like, 'cause I know that once it hits a certain time in the day, you never know what's going to hit you.
Agreed.
And so you can't control all of that.
Right.
So I know that I need to get my workout in. I need to have my quiet time. And I need to work on some sort of personal development, whether that's reading a podcast or writing. Like, that's what gets my day started and going.
Right. And the world's still asleep at that time.
Exactly. So there's limited distraction.
Right.
And I can just focus on this. And I tell everyone, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right.
So if you're waking up and the day has already started, it's almost like you're late.
Right. Exactly. And that's how I feel. I was going to the gym at like 9 and I couldn't keep routine. I just couldn't do it because some days permitted me to be able to go to the gym at 9 o'clock, and some days were already chaotic by 7 a.m. That 9 o'clock came by and I was like, there's no way I can even think of going to the gym, and stop doing what I'm doing. And oh, hold on, I have to take a break and go do this. It's like, no, not in the equation. So finding that routine and saying I wake up at 4:40 every morning and that's me time, and it's to be able to have that time to myself in peace and quiet with minimal distractions is so much more peaceful that I don't have to worry about anything. And then it's done. My time of what I need for myself and my sanity is complete. And then I'm able to be calmly going through the morning with getting the kids up and off to school. And it makes a huge difference, which some people are nighttime workout, that's how they unwind. For me, it's like you said, I can't predict what's going to happen. And some days are a lot more chaotic than others, and sometimes out of my control, but need my attention and my, solutions to the table. So getting up at that time is the small amount of time I've given for myself, and it makes a huge difference.
You're more peaceful. You're able to better serve others throughout the rest of the day. And it also builds a lot of confidence.
Definitely.
You stack those wins early in the day, and then you tell yourself, oh, I could achieve anything today.
Totally. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. What about, so you decided that you were going to we'll go back. I know we've kind of hopped over a little bit, but you decided that you were going to accomplish that, and that was your goal. So how did that transition happen from your original goal of going to New York to going to Texas?
Yeah. So I ended up auditioning for the first NFL team. I auditioned for the LA Rams and made finals. So I hopped in my car, drove down to LA, spent the whole week there, was in finals, great experience, got cut. And then about a month later, I auditioned for the Gold Rush, was in finals for that team as well. Great experience. Everyone was super nice. And that one felt like home to me, just because I knew a lot of the girls having grown up in this area. As I had mentioned, I was a junior Gold Rush cheerleader. So that was really sweet. And I also got cut in finals from that team. And after that happened, I texted my friend Annika, who I met at the LA Rams auditions. And we like hit it off right away. We both look similar. She's also a CPA. Just like a lot of synchronicities between us. And I text her, I'm like, oh my gosh, so happy for you. Congratulations. You're going to have the time of your life.
Because she made
Gold Rush.
Oh, she made Gold
Rush. Yes. So she made the second team that we both auditioned for. And those auditions were within a month. And so
what were your feelings of having so much talent and ability to make it that far and then get cut from both squads? I mean, what did you feel? Did you feel discouraged? Did you feel more motivated to push harder? Like, what were your feelings in those moments?
Definitely questions of like, where did I go wrong? What did I not do? I felt like I had prepared myself as best as I could. And so it was just looking for feedback, constructive feedback of what did I not do right? What could I have done better? There's definitely like the disappointment. And every time I've gone through an audition process and been cut, it's a great reminder about that I'm so blessed that I'm so passionate about something that it upsets me that much.
Right.
I don't cry very often. I've cried every time after I've been cut from a team. But how beautiful of a blessing that is, that you care that much about something, that you put so much of your heart and soul into something that it can affect you that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just curious on your take, because I mean, that's, sometimes people get, look at it as a letdown and they're not good enough and then it's an instant give up. But I've watched you through your journey push harder. And that is inspiring to me. That is inspiring to so many others, because that's a hard thing to not take personal, and say, what, maybe this just isn't for me. I mean, I don't feel like I had your strength to keep going. I wish that I did, but hence the tattoos. I was torn. I'm like, okay, dance or tattoos, I can't have both. And when I first got my first sleeve, it was closure to that chapter for me, because I had, gone for Gold Rush. You made it far, made it to the finals, got cut, which at the time, thank God, because I, was the start of my addiction was then. And I was masking. I was still functioning, I guess you can say. I was a functioning addict at the beginning. And thank goodness. Can you imagine the headlines that would have made? Gold Rush cheerleader, addicted to opiates and now in rehab. I mean, it would have been awful. So count your blessings. At the time, I'm like, it was not meant to be, because there was something that would have really ruined me if I had gone through with it at that moment, or I had been picked. So when I had gotten sober and I was working at the program that I was at, I decided I was going to go for it again. And so I started dancing, started prepping, and my job was really supportive. We had been working 70 hours a week, 6 days out of the week, with 1 day off. And I was like, I'm going to need more time to train and to get prepared for the tryouts. And I was blessed that they were willing to work with me on that. Well, then was going through the process and found out I was pregnant. I was extremely sick. And during the audition process, I had found out I was pregnant. So I walked away. And I'm like, oh my goodness, okay. Then I started doubting myself, I mean, of course I wasn't going to be able to go through it. I'm like, now I have to prepare for a baby, which I have my amazing son who's now just turned 10. And Reese is such a blessing for me. But I was like, okay, I didn't have it to go forward to. And then I started getting older. I'm like, okay, I'm already 24. And by the time I have the baby and then have to try this again, I mean, and those things crossed my mind. But But I'm like, it's time to close that chapter. And so I knew if I went and got a sleeve, because I had always loved the look of tattoos, I knew that it wouldn't, if I didn't have tattoos, I'd probably be saying I'm going to try out for the next one after speaking with you, because I love it and so passionate about it. So one, I just want to say, you know, good job that you continue. And because it's, for me, it was not that mindset a little bit. It was a lot more discouraging for me, I feel. But to say, you know, count your blessings and to say you're that passionate about it, it is a beautiful thing, because it's really hard. So your friend what year was this that you had tried out for Gold Rush?
This would have been 2021.
Okay.
So a few months before I moved to Dallas.
Okay.
Yeah. So I text Annika, hey, congrats. I'm so happy for you. She responds immediately, thank you, like 2 words, and then a whole long paragraph. And it was saying, hey, I've been training with this woman named Jennifer Amber, and she lives in Dallas, Texas. She has a whole training program. I would love to connect you to. She's transformed my dancing over the past year. I said, great, please connect us. So she connected us. And at this point, California was still kind of shut down.
Mm-hmm.
You were still, there was a lot of, like, you couldn't go to the gym and not be wearing, like, you had to wear a mask.
Right.
Still. So there was not much pulling me, keeping me in California, other than the fact that my parents and my sister were here. But my other sister was at TCU. So 45 minutes away from Dallas in Fort Worth. And so Jennifer and I meet. I end up doing one of her classes virtually. And right away, I was like, wow, I have never worked with a coach or a trainer who is so specific about her ability to give constructive feedback that actually, not that actually makes sense, but that is like, she's able to watch a routine of 5-6 girls out there and give specific feedback for every single girl.
Wow.
In a 30-second routine.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, yeah, okay, this is someone who I can train from, that I would want to learn from, that I could learn a lot from.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a 2-month Airbnb.
Oh, wow.
I hopped in my car. My mom drove out with me. And a week after I got to Dallas, I signed a lease. And the rest was history.
Wow. Now you're still there.
No, I'm still there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so what did that consist of for you? Just training with her? Does she have a studio, or is it one-on-one?
Yeah. So she has a whole training program. In my group, there's like probably anywhere between 10 to 15 girls who come, and it starts in October, ends in April.
While you're still with her now?
Yes, I still train with her now. Yes. So this is my 3rd year training with her. And it's great because it's good for accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It's great to meet other incredible women, and cool because all these women come to Dallas to train, and they end up auditioning and going all over the country for teams.
Oh, wow.
So I feel very fortunate to be able to see my friends excelling on teams all over the country.
Right.
It's really sweet. Mm. And the dance community out in Dallas is just so supportive, so loving. And it's also the first time that, like, my faith in dance has crossed over. Mm. Not that it's like a huge push within the dance communities, but just my coach loves the Lord, and a lot of the other women do. And so it makes it a very uplifting experience for me. And so I train with Jennifer in this program called Pro Focus, just 1 day a week for 1 hour. We'll come in week 1 and week 2 having already learned choreography. Week 3, they'll teach us something on the spot, or we'll work through technique. And then week 4 is performance week. So we perform everything we learned throughout the month.
Wow.
So that's like standard every week. And then there's a few different classes that I will go and I'll take in person. So on Tuesdays, I like to go take a pro prep class with my friend Tara. She actually just took the class over after the old teacher just got a job with the Dolphins,
cool.
working their entertainment. She was also former DCC. So really it's just getting in the room with people who have walked where I want to go.
Right.
So dancing was one aspect of it. That's only a small part of getting yourself prepared for an audition. There's all of the mindset work. So we have mindset calls with Jennifer and interview prep, which helps in all areas of life, how to be an effective communicator.
Right.
Which has been really fantastic. And then there's also my trainers. I work with a few different trainers in Dallas that I got plugged in with when I met there, more on the functional side of training. And then I've been working with a few different functional nurse practitioners and nutritionists and that whole side of things. So there's all kinds of coaches. It's not just one layer. There's multiple layers.
But it sounds fun. I mean, it's like a lot of discipline. I mean, it's like that is really what I look at that is that's just really taking care of yourself on every level.
Yeah.
And every area. How do you feel like mentally and physically since you've been doing all this the past few years?
Optimal.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as you start getting the right people in place. And it was a bit of a, like, after I got cut from the first two teams, I was like, okay, I can't do this alone. I had danced kind of like what you were saying. Like, I danced my whole life. I started dancing when I was 18 months old. That was my very first dance class. I got to college and I was competing on a top 10 team in the country. And then I go audition for two teams, get cut from both in finals. And I was like, okay, I can't do this alone. And I'd always had coaches in my life, but I think because they were always there, I didn't realize the value of them.
Right.
And so when I moved to Dallas and I started getting all the right coaches in place, they have the roadmap, they have the template. They want to help you get to where you are.
Right.
So much value in coaching.
Yeah.
In all areas of your life.
Totally. Yeah. And that's it. That's the thing is, like, I feel it's okay. It's really a strong thing to be able to say, I can't do this alone. And I feel like so many people feel that they need to be, or pride gets in the way and like, I don't need help. I can do this by myself, where they look at coaching, whether it's, physical or mental, as almost a weakness where I need help, and really, no, it's like we can't do everything alone. And having that positive encouragement and having somebody be able to give us that constructive criticism, which I think the first step would be being open to that. A lot of people, if you're closed-minded, it's almost like you get at a standstill and that's why I had asked you, it's like, well, how did you take that? Because it's a process where a lot of people could have a lot of self-doubt and discouragement and want to give up, versus, no, I want constructive criticism. Tell me what I can do to be better. What do I need to do to accomplish my goals and my dreams? I'm willing to put the work in, because in you dancing your whole life, I'm sure now there's techniques to your routines and your dancing that you didn't have before. Like, I'm sure you've gained so much. So it's like being open-minded to that is a huge step in the right direction in any area of your life, even if that's getting a tutor for school, and you're struggling a little bit in this area or this topic or this subject, being okay with, I'm going to reach out for some help and some more guidance in this.
Yeah. And I totally had to deconstruct my dancing and rebuild a different kind of dancing.
Oh, wow.
Because collegiate dance is very different from professional. So I kind of had to unlearn everything that I had learned over my whole life.
Yeah.
And that was hard to do. And to be okay with being that beautiful, feminine, woman, rather than kind of a drill team member. Because in college, that's kind of how it is. And especially coming from Penn State, we were a super traditional team. We were traditionally a kickline team. And so every finger had a place.
Right.
And then being able to get into this environment in the pro world, and they're looking for you to stand out. How do you make a team? Are you able to stand out but blend in at the same time with the style of the brand? And so
that's hard.
Super difficult.
Yeah, just to look in sync but stand out. It's like, okay, what do I need to do that? I mean, that's hard.
Yeah. And a lot of it just comes from knowing yourself. So you have to know yourself first.
Totally.
And be able to share with the judges your story through dance. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about dance is being able to share that inner joy and that fire and what makes you tick through movement.
Absolutely. And having faith is huge. You know, I mean, I have a lot of faith in just everything that I do. And it's not, you know, I count my blessings. I have a lot of gratitude for where I am today and, you know, the ability to get through hard days and the ability to have hard days even, you know. I even thankful for that, where it's like, okay, God, it's really hard today and I just want to give up. But I'm also thankful that I have you and I have the mindset that I am able to get through it. And I feel that makes all the difference when wanting to accomplish something so bigger than us, you know, where it's like, okay, this is where I'm going. This is where I'm headed. I want this, but I know it's going to be really, really hard to get there. And having faith has made it a much easier process all these years. Do you feel the same with this journey?
Totally.
Yeah.
And you hit it perfectly. Gratitude is everything. And anytime I know that I'm about to head into a valley or I'm at the bottom of a valley, I thank God, because I said, God, I don't know what you're doing right now, but I know that this pain is going to be turned into purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's the light that I want you to shine, to be able to show people it's only possible because of you.
What do you feel have been your biggest take back from the process of going through it and then not making it all the way through? Like, what have you gained most from those moments?
Just knowing that I might fall, but my ability to get back up and keep going. And the second that I started sharing my story, to hear the outpouring of support and encouragement from other people has really meant a lot to me. I didn't realize that it would touch people the way that it has. And the only way that you lose is if you stop trying.
Absolutely.
So just keep going.
Yeah, keep going. I mean, and that's what I've been watching. Your journey has been so inspiring to me because I could relate. And you probably didn't even know that. You know, you probably had no idea that was such a passion and a goal of mine, and you're touching somebody without even knowing it. And I'm sure that there's hundreds and thousands of people that you are touching through your process, and people that are watching you go through this. Like, I think what the most inspiring part of it is watching you continue. That part in itself is amazing to watch. Like, wow, the drive, the passion, the love, the smile on your face, like you are continuing. Like that's what inspires me, you know, and I'm cheering you on. I have no doubt in my mind that there's going to be a day that you look back and be like, all that hard work and all the setbacks and all the tears is going to definitely be a day that you look back on. But through the process and the journey, it's like you sharing your story it's vulnerable, and it's being able to open up about what you're going through and other, especially young girls, I feel. It's important to me to be able to share the process of struggles, especially like in this area for young girls who have passion and goals. And there's so much pressure and there's so much influence out there that it's easy to self-doubt, and like having a routine, having faith, whatever that may be for them and their higher power, whether that's through, you know, God, religion, meditation, whatever it may be for them, to hold on to that because it's so easy to just want to give up and to keep pushing. And do you speak with young girls too, like young dancers? Like, what would you say to your young self?
Yeah. Mindset is everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the more wins that you can stack to build your self-confidence, that's what shines through.
Now, there's a lot of pressure with dancing, and you have a lot going on with a lot of coaching in different areas. Do you find it hard to balance that with your, is it career? Are you working now? Are you still in school, or what do you have going on?
Yeah, this is something most people, like if you look at my social media, you probably, most people wouldn't know this, but
You're a full-time dancer.
I wish I was a full-time dancer.
Right.
But I work full-time in private equity. So
Wow.
I do have a full-time career. And on top of that, a few other passion projects that I like to do as well. But
How do you balance the two? Like mentally and physically? I feel like, there's so much that you're doing and for your goals, but a full-time job on top of it, that's a lot.
yeah, it's the passion that drives me forward.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything may make sense right now, but I know when I look back and connect the dots that it all will one day. And so that's where I just trust and know that I'm doing what I need to be doing to get to where I want to go. And I don't think that there's any such thing as real balance. I like to think of it more as harmony.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be ebbs and flows. And it's been like this since I was in elementary school. I was very fortunate. You kind of said that you were able to put your kids in multiple activities. I'm super fortunate because my parents put me in every activity and I was able to figure out what I loved on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And what did that mean? That meant that I was going from school to after school practice, to volleyball practice, then to dance practice, all in one day.
Right.
So the only way that I would be able to go to all three of those practices is if all of my schoolwork was done, and if my academics were where they needed to be.
Right.
And I think that kind of translated into my career.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard. I mean, I give your parents a lot of credit too. Now being a mom of 3 kids who are in active sports, in different sports. I mean, we're in sports all year round. And my son, in the summertime, when you would think we'd get a little bit of a break from sports, he's like, well, I'll pick up golf. Like, okay, well, we're doing golf. So, I mean, he just wants to do everything, but I'm thankful, and it's chaotic, running around from one practice to the next practice. But so thankful that I'm able to have the patience and the love for them to be able to do all of those things, because it's so easy, I feel, especially nowadays, like electronics and, so many kids not participating in sports. And I feel it starting at a young age helps with your mental health. It is already building routine, discipline, motivation. And I'm seeing that even now with my kids being so young, especially my oldest. I mean, he's still only 10, but that little boy has missed my birthday. He's missed traveling and vacations just so he doesn't miss a football practice. I'm like, that's dedication, and they are hopefully going to carry that long term with whatever they choose to do with their career in sports and whatnot. What do you say to young kids who, have a hard time with letdown? And I mean, I know it's like never give up, but what can you suggest to them who are having a hard time continuing? You know what I mean? Like that they really want to go further, but they have self-doubt or whatever it may be.
Yeah, I know a lot of kids struggle with confidence and self-doubt. I think more so than when I was growing up, even though I'm not that far removed. But
yeah,
I've had that kind of feedback because I still work with different dance coaches. I'll go in and do master classes, and that's a common theme is self-doubt and confidence. And I know personally, I really struggle with celebrating my own wins. Something I've had to work really hard on, no matter how small they are.
Right.
But one simple idea is when you have a win in your day, write it down. Put it in a jar. The end of the year, or if you ever have a day where you're feeling really down, pull a random one out, read it.
Oh, I love that.
Show yourself, look at what I've accomplished.
That's amazing. Nick, I think we need that. I think I want a jar on the table now. Yeah, that's going to become a thing. Yeah, a win for the day, put it in and pull it out. That's powerful.
2024.
Yeah, 2024, we're doing it. That's like in a week. Perfect.
Amazing.
We're doing it. That's a really, really good idea. I really, really love that advice. I think everybody can take away from that for sure. What are your goals now? What are you working towards?
So one goal on the dance topic, I will be auditioning again this upcoming year for the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. I was a finalist this past year, and I will be going for it again.
When does that start?
They just announced on their website that they will be beginning early May.
Very soon. And how long is the process? It's longer, right? For them than other squads and teams?
Yeah. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer. Last year, the first round was a video submission beginning of May. A few weeks later was semifinals. And then after semifinals was finals. Finals was in June. That was in person.
Oh, wow.
And then from there, that's where they picked their training camp candidates. And I was cut at the finals last year.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And so then you make it to training camp. And how long is that process?
I think it varies.
Okay.
Last year, I'm not sure how long it was. I know that it would have started in June. And I think they announced their team maybe sometime in July.
Okay.
Yeah. So a few weeks.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Got this.
Thank you.
We're going to be cheering you on.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on, Amanda. And how can people find you to follow your journey?
Yeah. You could find me on Instagram at Amanda Souks, Amanda Soukoulis.
Perfect. Thank you so much and good luck.
Thank you.
Cheering for you.
Thank you.